Hi, and welcome to our 33rd podcast of Keen Minds, in which we tackle episode 419 of NBC's The Blacklist, which is Dr. Bogdan Ivanovich Krilov, and he's number 29. I am Tessa from Criminally Sane, and
I am Jen, aka Takata Saiko.
And we gotta say this was an interesting episode, wouldn't you say? We are having a little bit of giggle attacks because of items unrelated to the podcast. So if you hear us giggling, all that, maybe because we're happy with all the things that have happened, even though we have not had one of the Keen members of the couple around, but we're still happy.
Or we've just lost our minds. It's really either or.
Yeah, it's possible. It's entirely possible.
Tessa's got a little brighter view on it. I know that I'm done. My brain's gone. It's alright. It's been a long week. Yeah, I have missed Tom, and, like, as the resident, like, insane, crazy Tom fan of the podcast, and the Keen Squared...
I'm pretty much a fan.
You're a pretty big Tom fan.
I'm not a shipper.
As the resident Keen Squared shipper of the podcast, there we go. I will say that, like, I have missed having him there. I've missed him as a character. I have missed having them together on the show. But I haven't.
Just wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
He wouldn't fit there.
There's so much going on right now. I mean, they could have. It just would have been. It would have had to have been hashed out differently than they've got going right now. And with Redemption, with the way they set up Redemption, there just wasn't a way to. I mean, that and by the way, Ryan. As much energy as this man has, he still has not figured out how to be in two places at once. And I think at least through this episode, and maybe even through the next episode, they were still on simultaneous recording and so filming.
And in fact, even time-wise, if you think about that last episode, they were talking about what kind of time was Tom having. So that means that any news of the arrest of Scotty or Howard coming back to life have not been made public because none of it has been mentioned. It's just Red asking, so how he's doing. Yeah. So we are still in the first 6 weeks of this.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, but I would definitely say that Scotty's arrest or impending arrest is not, Howard has not come out publicly on television yet.
Exactly. So it's the first 6 weeks because that happened in episode 7.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So we're still time-wise. He's still over there, and it wouldn't be possible to have him here. I miss him. I always, but we've been provided with a lot of sarcasm going around, and Samar has picked up the.
Okay, I know that I've been really, really hard on Samar the last couple of podcasts, and I really liked her in this episode, and as the roomie made this comment, and someone else on Tumblr made this comment privately, that we said that they backed off on the Saram stuff. I am a huge Saram shipper. I love the idea of Saram, or I did. I mean, I'm kind of iffy about it now, but they've done so much damage to it. But they backed off of it so that it's still brewing in the background, but it wasn't taking over Samar and Aram's scenes, which was nice. You got to see them, not their drama. I mean, in the Dembe Zuma episode, you got to see Aram, and then when Samar was there, it was all Saram drama. And then last week, for both of them, it was all Saram drama. And then this week, you didn't get a lot for either of them, but at least the drama was dialed back. You saw the characters and not the chaos, which was nice. And it's a breath of fresh air. I don't watch this show for a soap opera. I don't want to be exhausted on the emotional front with that. And I understand, as a writer, I understand you have to have conflict, but there's a fine line between conflict and getting into soapy zone of how much can we throw at these characters and how badly can we make them hate each other before they fall madly in love. And when you've got two characters in which the storyline is a big storyline, like Tom and Liz throughout season 2 and 3, you have more time to hash that out. With Saram, it just feels like that's all there's been to it, and it's been exhausting.
I found Samar really good in this episode, and we basically had no Aram, but Aram had a lot of work.
This episode, I loved her in it. She was fantastic in this episode.
Yeah, she was like all pink and what was the word? The all pink and perfect.
Perfect. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, and I do think that the writers, I've seen them do this time and time again. They did this back in season 3 is the first time that pops into well, not the first time, but like the big one that pops into my head, where you had a complaint from one side of the fandom, a rebuttal from the other side, and the writers came out and were like, okay, this is what we mean by this. This was the intention. And it was the bit with Wrestler saying, you know, Tom laid a hand on you, and I can't forgive that, which is very in character for Wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
But Liz coming out and saying, I kept him on a boat. I tortured him. We're even. And Keen Squared shippers had been saying that for ages at that point. And the writers just have a way of putting stuff out there and going, guys, this is what we mean. We've been trying to be subtle about this, but people aren't catching our hint. We're going to have to be blatant now. And I feel like they're getting that way with Liz to a great degree, that she is not this little princess, this little perfect pink princess that just needs to be saved by her white knight, be it whoever you would like to put into that slot. You know, she is a badass woman who lives deeply in the gray, and she always has, and they made it very clear in this episode.
Well, I think that also as we're getting towards the end of the series, there was no reason before to explore Sam was a grifter. You know, she was actually undercover in her own life as much as Tom was. She was a perfect agent. She was the above the law. And then, you know, the funny thing is they drop all these things that, yeah, she was a grifter. She was stealing stuff. She never was a Girl Scout, ever.
Chris M23 and I were talking earlier today about it, that it's when Tom was undercover, he was so innocent that it was almost like she was the bad girl, and so she had to downplay that bad girl sort of thing because she felt like she was overwhelming him with it, and she was. We were discussing that just today about how she was very much undercover in her own life and had this mask that she was wearing to be this this very good, very law-abiding, you know, not at all a grifter sort of individual.
No, not a thief.
Yeah, and that just was inaccurate. And how cool it is that these people who were both wearing these masks were drawn to the person underneath them.
Exactly, because Tom was not designed, that persona that he, you know, the school teacher, that wasn't designed to attract Liz. It was designed to be invisible because she's never been attracted to anything like that. But yet they got attracted to each other for reasons that I'm sure will become very apparent in the series. I think because they knew each other as children.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's my pet theory, and I love it.
It was absolutely great to see them bring that badass Liz, in which she's just finally taking the cover off. And I think there is something in this that ties back all the way to mythology.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was interesting because I was discussing this with someone else again. I do a lot of discussions with people. With Samar's reaction to all of that, because my first response when I saw Samar reacting the way she was to Liz threatening the guy was, this isn't like Samar's never gone this route, but because in season
all 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. She's done that before, but the only thing I could come up with is that she and Liz were not on the same page.
No, it was either she was always doing it with Wrestler, and or she was doing it and Wrestler was observing. It was always her and Wrestler. It was never
Red.
Yeah, never Samar and Liz.
Yeah, and so I think she was just new to it, and so she was a little bit taken back. Liz must have just worn that mask too well. And I think that she actually gained some respect from Samar this episode of, You really aren't perfect. Little pink and
Yeah.
perfect. I like it, you know. And so
Yeah.
that was fun to watch them work together. I like watching them work together. They work well. And
I think there is also this thing with Liz coming into her own, is that she's beginning to explore who she really is, and when she's doing that, she has less use for the cover.
mm-hmm.
And I think that Samar, in a way, had also a cover on her. It was a tough woman. It was the one who didn't care, and I think she's still shedding that. It was basically a Mossad cover.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the things that she had to do in order to get the things that she had wanted to achieve. She was on this Saul bin Hassan, and she's starting to come off that. And I think that she's also finding her footing, finding out who she's really now.
Well, I mean, you're also looking at two totally different cultures, like the one that she grew up in and the one that we live in. The culture she grew up in, it would be less likely for a woman to be doing what she's doing. She would have had to have fought harder, fought stronger, put up that facade of just being invincible to get to where she needed to be in that culture. I mean, it's just different parts of the world. It's, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but honestly, from what I understand, the FBI is very male driven. So, I'm sure she had to wear it there too.
Yeah.
Did, And so, I mean, I think she runs into that a lot.
And it was interesting because most of the times we have seen, an equal partnership between Samar and Wrestler and Liz and Wrestler. In times, they have had to save him or he had to save them. And I like that about the show, that it doesn't portray damsels in distress. It portrays real agents.
Well, we've talked about that before, how they give us really awesome, strong women in this show, and how fun that is. They really do. And so, but they've got quite a few female writers on staff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I consistently see see ladies' names pop up, as fairly regular writers. So, they've got a good mix on the writing staff, and that's how you get well-rounded characters, and you don't get cliches, and you keep your writing staff well-rounded.
Yep. What did you think about Gail?
So, I was so obsessed with Gail last week. I feel like I kind of took a step back this week. I was not...
You're coming over to my camp, huh?
Be careful there. You guys can't see her, but Tessa has a very smug face going on over there.
I do.
It's okay.
I predict that everybody will be on my side by the end of the season. If Gail makes it that far.
I didn't trust him coming in, but I liked him. Right now, my distrust in him is starting to outweigh my like of him, because there were a couple of things. And I made the comment last week. I said, the moment he screws with Wrestler, he's, that's rest before Gale every day. And he has fed Wrestler and Liz two different stories.
Yes, indeed. You caught that one. Kudos to you.
I sat there. He's been telling Wrestler, and he keeps going, your former partner that you chased down, that you did this, and she was on the run. And then when Liz finally shows up, he goes, oh no, I didn't want to see you. I wanted you to see them. I've had a chance to apologize. I thought you'd want to turn. And he basically spells out everything that the task force has been doing, which he has not said to Wrestler. Ergo, I believe that he's playing Wrestler on that. To what end, I don't know. And that's what makes me nervous, because I think he's playing on Wrestler's trust in him, which makes me very angry. It's like, I put out something on Tumblr last night when the episode aired. I said, all I want to do is wrap Wrestler in a blanket and protect him right now. I'm very overprotective of Wrestler at this moment.
So far, we have on the task force, we have Cooper in cuffs, Liz in cuffs, and Wrestler in cuffs.
Yeah.
We're going down the list, babe.
It's very interesting, and it was also something else I caught that I stumbled across today. Is Wrestler and Gail's reaction to the good that the task force does. I know that Redemption put out right before they started airing, said doing bad things for good. Mm-hmm. And that's been a big theme with the Blacklist. And surprisingly enough, for the Boy Scout, it's been something that he seems to be in line with, because in season 2, right after when Detective
Wilcox,
thank you, was coming after Liz, she nearly killed the deer hunter, and she and Ress were standing outside the house having that conversation in the cold, and she said, I would have killed her. Basically, I've gone too far. This has gone too far. I'm gonna give it up. And Wrestler's like, you're the glue that holds us together.
It's all about numbers. It's not right.
That's exactly what he said. He said, think about how many mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and children have gone home safe because of what we do. And that's exactly it. He said it was about the numbers. And Gail turns around.
He puts it in an interesting way, because for him it's about him burying his father, and he always put it in terms of how many families have not buried a father, a mother, a wife.
Well, it was interesting because Gail used very similar language last week, and I keyed in on that this week when I ran across that. Mm-hmm. When he's talking to the cop at the I don't know where they are, so whatever PD that is of where they are.
They're in Reston.
Where are they?
Reston, Virginia.
Virginia. Okay, so the police department that are there for that he says, are you saying that their wives didn't love them, that their children don't miss them? It paralleled so nicely with what Wrestler was saying about bringing home the husbands and the wives and the mothers and the fathers and the brothers and sisters, bringing those people home. And Gail is looking at it and saying these people never got home. Mm. And so it's interesting to see that, and I haven't quite decided how I feel about what that means, but I can see the definite parallel starting to form up with the way that they're viewing if the good outweighs the bad with the task force.
What would you think it would be Gail's reaction when and if he learns that Reddington is an informant because I think the idea is to bring him over for the task force, isn't that? I mean, he's a regular.
I think so. I think right now he already knows Wrestler works for the task force. After this episode, I think he knows. I think he's playing Ress.
I think he's playing Liz too, but that can be dangerous because Liz is much better suited for psychological warfare.
They made the comment, the doctor made the comment about Wrestler that he was much more pliable than Liz. And bless him, he's not an intelligence officer. I mean, Liz is an intelligence. Cooper is an intelligence. So many of these people, Samar is an intelligence. Wrestler is a cop. He's a federal agent. He's
learning, though.
He is. He's getting better, but he's behind the curve on everybody else because everyone else started there, and he's been slowly working towards it. He's a very intelligent human being. He's very clever. He's got good gun instincts. But he's a cop. He expects...
He goes in the rules in the black and white.
Exactly.
Because that's where the rules live. I mean, the rules don't say, well, you can kill if you feel like it, if you're justified.
Which is funny because the numbers make it okay to work with Reddington, but so do the orders as well. I think that's a lot of it, is that the orders tell him to do that, and so he does it.
Yeah. I find that... Gail will be a very interesting. I do think that he has a hidden agenda that I am still not very clear on him. I can get a good reading, but I find that thing when he said that he went off and had to step back interesting. What did he do when he was stepping back? Where did he go?
And what made him step back? I think you were the one that said that you think he lost somebody. Was that you that said that?
No, I think that there is something that he went to the other side. He has some other objectives that I'm not sure what they are yet.
Well, see, when I think it was Brad that said that, either intentionally or inadvertently, that these people are working for Kate. And I just kept, for some reason, my brain kept replacing Kate with the Cabal. That I think that this is about to tie the Cabal back in.
It could be.
I do know that you were one that thought that Gale may be on the Cabal's payroll.
Either Cabal or Kate. Something is off with him.
I don't think it's Kate, but I do think that there's a good possibility that he is inadvertently working for the Cabal, if that makes sense. Like Wrestler when he trusted Hitchin. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would be very easy to do. I wouldn't blame someone for that. I mean, it's not like Wrestler went at it trying to trust the wrong person. But good heavens, there's only so many ways you can look at it without being so paranoid you can't do your job. Like, by this point, if I were in there, I would be questioning everybody. I'd never get anything done,
It's definitely a character that merits a lot of attention. And I think that the way you've gone about observing the parallels in the words and the things he's saying is the right way to go.
Well, I think that it's very easy to gloss over what he's saying because he mumbles a lot. The roomie...
And he's crazy. He acts like crazy. Yeah. He's all over the place.
But the roomie has... my roommate, for those that don't hear me on Tumblr, talk about the roomie all the time. But she has hyper hearing, I don't know what you would call it, but incredibly good hearing. And she even, like, she gets irritated because I use subtitles on everything to make sure I catch little things that I wouldn't normally catch. And last night, she goes, can we just go back to that last Gale scene and put the subtitles on? Because I have no clue what he said. I mean, and I'm going, thank you, because I was going to do it anyway. Because neither of us could understand what he was saying to Liz. But most people won't go back and do that. So it's easy to gloss over what he's saying. So I have a feeling there are so many little nuggets in the things that he's saying that are just getting brushed off because, like you just said, he's crazy. He's erratic. He's,
But if it were the Cabal, he would really know about Red. So this may be an unknown enemy. We may be tying back to the mold that Victor fucking was talking about. That he was going to he was murder over some information that he had about an illegal mold. So something is off, and I don't think it's a Cabal. Not quite sure that is K, because then he would have a lot more information. Yeah. Something is off in here, or maybe he's just a kook.
I don't think he's a kook. I don't think he's as much of a kook as he would like you to think he is. The actor's fantastic. Like, he's a beautiful soul.
And Enrique Murciano is doing a beautiful job.
How do you pronounce his last name?
Murciano.
Okay, because I was talking to someone the other day. I said, I will butcher that poor man's last name because, like, I can sort of pronounce, I'm bad at pronunciations in general. Like, you should hear me try to pronounce the French that I learned in college. It's a gorgeous language. I completely butcher it.
So long as you can order a croissant and a glass of wine, you're good.
Yeah, I can do that. But anyway... But he is I have been so excited. I hope he goes into season 5. I hope he becomes a regular. Like,
I thought that he was brought in as a regular, and he's going to be a new member of the task force.
I think so. And that, like, I'd heard that, but I'd also heard someone tell me that I had misunderstood that, or they thought I might have. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Well, the way it's going is like he's going to stumble on the Reddington, and they're going to have to pull him in. And Cooper is going to say,
And he may get an ultimatum. He may get a, you're with us or you have a nice little box that we're going to put you in. Yeah. And so I'm very excited to see where Gale goes. I hope he sticks around. I think he's fun. And like I know I've had people in my inbox on Tumblr and just people in general say, "Oh no, they're gonna push Ryan out because this new actor's in." And I'm like, guys, it's a small cast. They have room to expand.
And Ryan is limited by renewal of redemption.
It depends on if redemption's renewed, and I'm kind of hesitant on what I'm holding back a lot of where I think things are going until we know that, because if redemption's renewed, they'll be able to do that storyline there. If it's not renewed, they're going to have to really taper it down and bring it into the main fold of the show.
I have a feeling they will.
Now,
at least for season 2, yeah.
I hope so.
What did you think about Liz and her memories being altered? Because I had a pretty good feeling that Red had no idea what she was talking about. And I believed Dr. Krilov when he said that he had done it.
I don't think it was Kate. I don't think that makes sense. But unless Red's changing his MO in that he does not directly lie to Liz. Because he was pretty straightforward on that. I mean,
yes, he was. It was a no.
Yeah.
It wasn't all that or a dodge.
If they were, and I'm just gonna throw this out there because I am. No, Tom did not screw with her memories.
Well, the important thing about that, and this is now Crazy Town. We're going in Crazy Town here. It's that they said it is because she discovered something about Raymond Reddington, and I want to do a little expounding on crazy theory. So this is my crazy theory time.
Okay, go for it.
If you go back, I've written posts about the mercurial changes that Liz does, and you have analyzed them, far more extensively than me. But I've done my little bit of character analysis, and I can trace every little bit.
Come to the dark side of character analysis. We're fun. We have cookies and craziness. And timelines.
Yes, timelines. We love time. See, I'm with Gail. I love
dates. As soon as he said, I love dates, I'm like, I love you.
So
that's me.
This is where I'm standing with all of this. If you look at Liz's behavior since season 1, she has had some flips and flops over Red that are going like, Liz. I mean, let's refocus here. Liz knows that she's being abandoned by a criminal father, and there is this criminal that comes and only talks to her. And this criminal knows that her hair has changed. That's how closely he had followed her. Knows about her adopting a baby, a process that is generally, quite private. And there is all these things that he knows. You think that if you were in that same situation, you say, oops, I think this is Dad.
And I will only speak to Elizabeth Keene. Yeah, I mean, that her first statement, that's a pretty early on thing. She's like, are you my father?
Yeah. And of course, she can say anything, can she? What would happen if she said, oops, I think this guy is my dad?
Oh, to the FBI? I mean, she was under such scrutiny in season 1. Wrestler didn't trust her. Cooper didn't trust her. Mira didn't trust. Nobody trusted her. She was the outsider that wasn't supposed to be the outsider. She had no allies, which I think was part of Red's doing. It was part of the manipulation because it made her want to ally with him. And there was a bit in this last episode that made me very uncomfortable with him, and we can go into it a little deeper when we get to Red, but his comment to her about when she said that she was coming, and she said Gale was coming after Red, and he goes, coming after us. How can you tell the difference? And I'm sitting there, and my brain is firing off from season 2 finale of I didn't want you to be like me. And I'm going, but now, what's going on, Red? What changed? Like, it just... like I said, a lot of this will go into Red more, but he's in such a dark place.
Well, but I mean, we agree, right? I mean, she's there. If she even has the FBI suspect that Red is her father,
absolutely,
her career will be over before it starts.
Well, and she you see the secrets early on. She finds the go box in the pilot. Not a damn word about Tom.
Except
total silence.
She says nothing to anybody except to Red. Why trust a criminal, a perfect stranger you just met, with the fact that you just discovered boxes of your husband? Well, the same criminal that you just stabbed with a pen and fear nothing from him. You're not there like thinking, oh, this guy's going to kill me because he's a big criminal. She's like, yeah, I'll stab you and mess up with me and I'll do it again.
Well, you remember what Scotty said in Redemption about the fact that she felt so drawn to Tom and that she trusted him and she didn't know why? It was because there was a bond between parent and child that can't be explained. Mm-hmm. I think that's there, and I think that's one of the reasons that Liz always... She wants to trust him, regardless. I mean, this man killed her father, the man that raised her, Sam.
She still trusts him.
He put a pillow over his nose and smothered the man in his hospital bed. It was brutal. And yet she has found it within her, to forgive him and move on from that. Even to the point where he can bring Sam up and she doesn't just look... Like, if I were her, every time that Red brought Sam up, I'd go, you mean the man you killed? The man that raised me, that you murdered?
And it goes further and further, because as you get in the season, it just becomes obvious. She thinks Red is her father. She finally gets the guts to ask him in 110. He says no. Does she believe him? No. It's 122 and she asks again. If she had believed him, she wouldn't be asking again. And, it's a 4 more wanted men. We're not even going into the 4 wanted men. And this time he refuses to answer. He's not saying no. He's just refusing to answer because he killed Sam to prevent her from knowing. Now she's not going to go in there. He's not going to go in there. So Tom tells her that her father is alive. She relays this to Red. Red says no, her father is dead. Is there any reason why she would believe him now when she didn't believe in the previous times? None.
See why she would.
So we go into season 2, and she's been keeping Tom. She's in a very dark place. She's been keeping Tom prisoner. She's as dark then as Red is now. She's facing everything dark in herself. She's basically getting even, which is Red's. Red even gives her a little thing to wrestle her. There's revenge and justice is the same thing, which is, it's judicial, but it's the same thing. You do something and the state will get revenge instead of the person. But hey, who are we to quibble about these little things? So we go there. She finds Carla. She finds, and then I think that she runs this little test to see if Red says, no, you cannot let Carla die because she's your mother. But of course, Red reads her and says that deal is going forward. She gets a little thing of Carla. She's basically continues, and then she goes back to the hotel. You remember that scene when she goes back to the hotel after Monarch Douglas Bank? And she's a surly teenager with a temper tantrum. It's like, fine, you won. You remember that scene at the end of Monarch Douglas Bank? Go watch it again. It's
I'll
unbelievable.
have to. I was gonna say, 'cause I can't recall the scene you're talking about, and usually I can. So
yeah, it is a kind of scene that goes under the radar. But if you watch it, understanding that something weird going on in here, I think that Liz continues to believe that she's the Red's daughter, and then she has this recall. And the funny thing about that recall is Dr. Orchin doesn't see what Liz is. She only hears what Liz relates because she's seeing in her mind. So if Liz doesn't say anything, Dr. Orchard doesn't know. And we only see whatever the writers want us to see. So did she really learn that Red was her father, or learn that her father had died and they left him and it was Red's fault? Or did she learn that Red was her father and she was furious because she had never told her?
So I personally, well, I mean, if she had her memories wiped, then she could have learned anything. I mean, that's that's part of it. If she didn't, I don't think that they're gonna just throw this in here and they go, oh, Kaplan was just screwing with her, you know, like, I think there's something to it. I just don't know what I don't know if it was Red, if it was someone else. It could have been Katerina. I mean, it could have been someone else. I mean, that orchestrated it. I don't think it was Kate. It doesn't sound like it was Red, unless he's lying to her, in which that's shifted.
Oh, Katerina is a nice option.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, she's just, I swear, she's just back there lingering, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but she's not dead. You cannot convince me she's dead.
I mean, it's weird what she does, because she gets out of there, and yes, she's hungry with Red, and she's, you know, mad at Red. But look what she does in the Deer Hunter. Red scolds her, and she takes it and says, what, you're going to suspend my phone privileges? Mm-hmm. So that tells you, that is a weird thing if she doesn't think that Red is her father.
I have a write-up on Tumblr. I have a list on my site called, you know, thoughts and metas and whatnot. And I had a friend who ships Lizington that asked me maybe about a year and a half ago. She said, I know that you're a daddy gator. Could you explain to me why? And so it was very polite. It was. I love those types of questions, you know, of people that just, I send those and I'm always like, I really don't, I'm not trying to stir up trouble. I genuinely want to know because I am confused by your viewpoint and I would like to understand. And that was the kind of request that I got from her. And that scene that you just mentioned with her going, what, are you going to ground me? It was one of the things that I said, the way that Liz reacts to Red, the way that Red reacts to Tom, the way that Red reacts to Liz. There are so many, the different relationships, the way that the reactions are given to me has spoken since, for me, the second episode in, I thought he was her father.
I thought he was her father from the moment he appeared.
It took me to the second episode.
Yeah. Once I saw the way that she looked at him when she comes in and when he says all these things, by second episode when he says, then you can be my daughter, like, okay, yeah, he's just having you're getting such a kick of saying it right in front of the FBI. Because that's Red. That's where he gets his kicks.
Yeah.
He loves this kind of things. But, you know, that you go in there and we're still acting like father-daughter. He brings Tom back and then finds Tom in her room. Says he's back in your life. No, he's not. I mean, I could hear my father. I don't know that there is any woman who have grown up with a father that have not heard that particular scene played out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you had a boyfriend that your father didn't like, and there was...
I know I have. There was
that scene.
Yeah, there's always that one. But, yeah, it's... Liz, I don't know. Where do you think the memories were taken?
That's what I'm going.
Okay,
That's what I'm leading. Because it's important for me, at least theory-wise, because I think that this episode was one of those that hides a lot of mythology that is going to take a lot of peeling to reveal.
I agree.
And as we go, and we're in season 2, she is angry, as Cynthia will put it, as a peach organ hog, at him because she put Tom in her life and lied about it, or didn't lie, but skillfully avoided the truth, to put it delicately. And
delicately, yes. It was so close to lying, it might as well have been.
Yeah, but
it quacks like a duck, you know.
But he's a wordsmith, so we give him a little more room there. But she saves him. She starts firing at this guy. Had it been any other unrelated man who hired a man to go in her life that ended up being a spy and caused her all this grief, she would have not just let him to die, but probably add a few bullets of her own.
She would have stood over him and gone, all right, can I help you? Bye.
Over here. I don't think it's dead yet.
You need another one. Come on, right here.
Yeah. I'll just stand back. Stand back. Kill him. She doesn't. She saves him.
Yeah.
She's angry. She doesn't want to hear about it, but she puts her own skin by saving him and goes to Peter Kotsiopoulos and shows him the fulcrum to save him. Not just to save him, but it's a desperate attempt. It's a last minute. You have to save him. Call the kill back.
She puts the bullseye on her own back versus Red's.
Exactly. So if had it been any other relationship, that would be totally unacceptable. Not even for a romantic one. She would have been the first one in saying, you're manipulating me, you're putting people in my name, you're controlling me. Forget it. I'm out of it. Yet she continues, and then she kills Connolly. She says she remembers. We never see what is that she remembers, but we hear then Raymond, I had a gun. And what she does, she gets in the car after killing a man, becoming a fugitive, after killing not a man, after killing the Attorney General, and puts her head in Red's shoulders and closes her eye, and she's in a relative peace for a few minutes. Is that not Daddy? I don't know what that is. But we continue.
You're not convincing me. I'm already convinced.
Yeah. And then she goes on, and she's on the run with a target on her back, with a cabal after her, with Solomon after her, the FBI after her, and she's smiling, and she's happy, and she's hearing Red's little stories, and they're on the truck. They're all happy. They're still, and she has stopped asking, who's my father? After 2 years on who's my father, who's my daddy, who's my daddy, who's my daddy, stop. She comes back. She's happy. She goes over there. She gets the kick in the head, and the next episode, she starts on a weird town thing. And then she hates Red. It's about taking Tom's job. It's somewhere in those episodes, 312 and 313. Alistair Pitt, and I think there is a big gap between 311 and 312 because she's visibly pregnant in not in the Vem. She's visibly pregnant in Alistair Pitt. So there is a gap there that I think that's when happened. And after that, she's back asking, treating Red like she doesn't like Red and all that. And it's almost like she's starting to rediscover again that she's her father. So she comes again to the same conclusion now after he gives her life. But I think that's when it happens, between 312 and 313. When she started acting crazy again and hating Red and don't want a part of my life and I'm going to give my child away.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't think Red would have been the one to do it because,
No, I don't think so. I think it's Kate.
I don't think it's Kate.
I like your theory.
It can't be Kate because Kate met the guy for the first time in this episode. Unless they were both faking it. Which there's no real reason to do that. Because he walked in, he's like, who the hell are you?
Unless it wasn't her personally, but she sent someone.
And that's possible. That is possible. Yeah, it could be. It could be all of that, and that she was hiding that because
there is thing that in all this that Kate that had got my antennas up, which is Vanessa Cruz. Remember that he says, my employer, and we all think, oh, she's working for Red. Maybe not. Maybe Vanessa Cruz is the one who designed this whole scheme. That would be within her skill set.
Yeah, she's pretty impressive. I don't know. I hope we see her back. I liked her.
Mm-hmm.
She was fascinating.
I love those little cubicles that she had with everything, little hair all organized. She was like OCD almost.
Yeah, it was. She made me more paranoid than I usually am.
That's revenge taken to a whole new level.
Oh gosh. So, that's a possibility. I had it pegged back to prior to Agnes, not because of personality changes or anything, just because of timeline. I was following and the timeline's so vague right then, because we don't know how long that Liz and Tom were working together to try to find Katerina. We don't, there are a lot of points in there that it could be weeks, it could be months, it could, it could be anywhere from like a week to 6 or 7, I mean, like, you just don't know. And so I had it pegged to around that time period, but we'll find out. It'll come out, and that's very interesting. I like your mental path there that you took to get to that.
Yeah, because I'm just tracking where she's behaving like Red is her father, to a point where she seems to have flipped for no particular reason.
That's not entirely accurate, because it could be because of the pregnancy. Because suddenly she's got this little child that's going to be dependent on her, and she has to make huge decisions in which she's really freaked out about. And Liz, when she's freaked out about something, she tends to internalize. Think about back to season 1 when she was having trouble with the adoption, and Tom said, "Are we still adopting? Because you'd stop talking to me about it." She shuts people out is what she does. And that's exactly what she did with the pregnancy with Agnes. She shut Tom out. She shut Red out. She shut everybody out that would have any sort of influence over it. Could have any sort of influence over it.
I'm going to go really dark here on Kate. Really dark.
I was going to say, are we moving into Kate? Because... Yeah. I wasn't quite done with Liz. I had one more thing.
Okay. No, this is actually tying Liz with Kate.
Okay, cool.
So we can sedge into Kate from that. But there is one incident in the Blacklist that to me remains big dangling end with neon signs and flashes and everything surrounding it, which is Liz being beaten by the guy in the plaid. Because first she has plaid on 2 occasions when he beats her up.
That is a terrible, terrible thing in Tessa's book right there.
Well, not necessarily the plaid wearer. Sometimes, because if you remember, Aram was wearing plaid when Alyssa was playing him, and he had no guilt. And Ressler was wearing plaid when he was a drug addict, and he was like slamming cars into his thumb. So it just means that something is not as it seems. But the one thing is, like, that
trying to make the point that the plaid is very extensive for you.
It's and it began to go into real life. When I see somebody with a plaid, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And then I have to remind myself, it's not the Blacklist.
Which is really funny, because the roomie wears, like, all plaid all the time. She's obsessed with plaid. And, like, we actually were joking about this the other day, because I was hanging out with her in the room. And she goes, we're talking about it, and she goes, come here. And I went into her closet, and she's just got these lines of plaid shirts. I'm like, what are you not telling me?
She's a mass murderer.
I can see her being a spy. I could totally see that. She was the CIA. Sorry, roomie, I just outed you.
Yeah. So the funny thing with that episode to me is that it's obvious. He not only attacks her, he makes sure that he's he's following her. He watches her when she comes in. He watches around as he's beating her, and the beating seems particular because he breaks her ribs. I'm almost tempted to say somebody didn't want that baby to be born. Yeah. Or that is the point where they do this procedure and then they leave her back, kind of like wrestler. They beat him up and they leave them in the same place. And she doesn't remember a thing. But something happened around that time and at the same time, now that you start looking at Katie different, Kate is sitting there, Red had the arm around her. It was such a sweet scene. But now every time that I look back and I see her using Deary, I think, oh no, she has no good intentions here. Because she called Deary the guy that wanted the cigarettes, the abuser.
Yeah.
The guy getting
she's used that a lot less and a lot more purposefully these days. It's funny for anybody that ever watched Once Upon a Time. Tessa, you've never seen it, have you?
Mm-mm. No.
It's a show on ABC that's about fairy tales. Rumpelstiltskin is my favorite over on that show when I used to watch it, and he calls everyone Deary. And if anybody watches it, it's Robert Carlyle with that gorgeous Scottish lilt of his calling people Deary. And so, like, every time she calls someone Deary, but it's always a mocking sort of thing with him. It's Deary is mocking for him, it's...
I suspect dear Katie is the same.
Yeah, and that's, like, it's getting that way with Kate, and I'm just going, channeling your inner Rumple there, Kate. Go for it.
So I think that she says something interesting to him. She says, you're not going to lose her no matter what happens. What happens? Except that she's getting beaten up. So I'm almost wondering if Kate was responsible.
I don't know.
I'm also thinking that Kate was somewhat
That would be an excellent time to have... Excuse me. It would have been an excellent time to have snuck that in.
Yeah. And then it would be... Everything weird would be attributable to... She's pregnant.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh.
And she was less pliable. So how much of that damage was actually made by the guy beating her and by her resisting any attempt to be hypnotized because he remarks on how pliable wrestler was.
Well, something I found really interesting to all of that, and I always just attributed it to the fact that there wasn't, that they cutscened it. The baby's okay. Terrified Liz, done with the scene. And that was the end of the episode. Why would nobody be there for her? First names, and, obviously Nick's Pizza. They're not going to call him Nick's Pizza. But Tom Keene. Liz Keene. It's not a stretch. Just like, and she's got to have, and my guess is that Tom is probably still her point of contact in her medical records.
Who knows? I also thought that maybe she didn't even come with her phone. Maybe they took her phone. Yeah. There is something bizarre in that
you're right.
scene.
It's fishy. It's.
And at the same time that they're showing Red calls Tom and tells him, that you're not going to marry her. And Kate is shown before that saying, no matter what happens, you're not going to lose her. Which is something that she has never said that. It's almost a little too sweet because Kate has that pinch look, whatever is about Liz. So why that? Why that scene? I know that they put it in there because it was a great time to tell us that she's pregnant. But why a beating? They could have had that by having her faint, by having her throw up, or...
Yeah. Like,
there were a million ways. Yeah, there were a million ways of doing that. So that beating is there for a reason.
I agree. And yeah, I agree. And I think we will come back to it. I hope we will come back to it.
So you want to talk about Kate? She is killing it.
I'm not done with Liz. I have one more thing for Liz. I'm not a Keenler shipper. I am a Keen Squared shipper. I know. Tessa's face is shocked over there. She just about fell off her desk. I know this is a shock to everybody. But I do love Rest, and I do love the Liz and Wrestler partnership. It's one of the best it has been one of the best friendships, in my opinion, in the show. I very much appreciate it. I very much love it. And to see her come back around and be so defensive and so protective of Wrestler, and then so gentle with him when she's talking him down, it was brilliant. And I loved it. And it was so nice to see that back around. Because, I mean, you had that when she talked him down from killing Jonica in season 1.
I was going to say, this is a parallel scene.
He was very revved up. He was very freaked out. And, I mean, granted, he was hyped up. And something else I thought about is, it's the first time in ages he's been on that many drugs. You know, before, when he was drugged,
I hope they don't go back in there, because...
Oh, God, I hope not.
We had it in Redemption.
Oh, I know. I'm just like, no. Show how strong Wrestler is. It's okay. He can be strong. It's okay. But I love
He looks so utterly confused.
Oh, and can't you imagine that poor man? I mean,
how he knows what it feels to be Liz.
And that may be part of it. Is that may just open up a whole new room of understanding for what Liz has gone through. Because he's already been one of the more understanding team members when she faked her death. So this is going to open up so much more. And I really think this is all going to thread together in the end to make them decide whose side that they're on, and what side they're on, and what they're doing, and why they're there, and really get down to the nitty-gritty of why they're there, what they're willing to give for this, and what their purpose is, on both a professional and an individual level. Because as much as you can say my orders said, because like Panda Baker said to Cooper last week, are you seriously going, my orders said this, you know? That's what you're falling back on? Because this is very personal to every one of these people. They are making these personal decisions, and they are allowing certain things, because we've seen Wrestler have serious issues with this on a personal level, and yet make sure that he's okay with it on a professional level by saying, let's look at the body count. He basically goes through and analyzes it and decides that the people they're saving outweighs the ones that are weighing on his soul.
Yeah, and he's, you know, as he says, there is not an innocent soul in them, except for Max.
Except for who?
And Max was the son of a criminal, the son of
Hans. You mean?
Yeah, Hans. There
okay,
you go. I
sorry.
just changed his name.
Yeah, now.
I don't know. As a body, he looked more like a Hans to me, like a Max and a Hans.
I was like, "Who's Max?" Like we warned you in the beginning, we're a little goofy tonight.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of the series, but God. This it was interesting to see Wrestler take the part of protecting the task force after having so many doubts over the first 3 seasons, and doubting so much,
and especially in this one as well, because he's made comments this season about, well, we're just basically on Reddington's payroll, and I like I said, I think it comes from a personal point of view versus a professional. Samar, when he was talking to her, yes, they have a professional relationship, but they're both on the task force. Ergo, he can talk about personal things with her. Gayla's not part of the task force. So, it's more, he's gonna kind of shut that off a little more. If that makes sense. There are things he's hiding from that. And he's looking at it. I think it bothers him on a personal level, but on a professional level, he's okayed himself with it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Poor Rez. Very conflicted man.
But I think that he's getting less and less conflicted. Funnily enough, I sense him less conflicted now. Funny thing, because I think that the Wrestler of yore would have been upon seeing that skate ring full of bodies, which according to a funny review is the American dream, it's part of the American dream, is having your little town with your body full with 86 bodies.
You just had to go there, didn't you?
I had to go there. I'll have fun with that later. But upon
if you guys don't see me online, it's because Tessa just killed me.
Yeah, I think she's passing out. I think that upon seeing the 86 bodies on the skate ring, for now part of the American dream, Ressler would have been horrified and would have said, "This is it. I don't care about the task force," and would have put his foot down like he did in Esteban and says it's about right and wrong in murder and rape and torture, and there is no bigger issues than those.
Yes, I agree.
And going past that, instead he says, "It's all right. Just laugh. I can talk." Instead, he looks at these bodies and he sees who they are. And I think that he realizes in that moment for Ressler, the total opposite that Julian Gale was expecting. It was saying, you know what? I'm pretty good with this. Because there is not an innocent guy. And by killing these guys, innocent people are living. Because they're murderers, because they're torturers, because they're kidnappers, they're bad people who do bad things.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
And it was not something expected of Ressler in season 1, and I think that's what the shock of Gale is being. He wants to go, then he's rubber banding. He wants to go back to catching Hitchens. But on doing that, he almost becomes like Red and is pulled back again. But it's that rubber banding that we were talking about before.
I actually saw a gorgeous parallel between Ressler and Liz in that point. Because when she was... and granted, hers wasn't drug-induced. His was drug-induced. But when she was watching... when they were confronting Connolly... And she was standing there with the gun and about to shoot him, and then just bang. And I honestly expected Ressler to do it. I thought Ressler was going to pull the trigger.
I think the difference in the reason why Liz was able to get to Ressler, and I think we mentioned this before, and the reason why Tom was able to get to Ressler too when he was about to kill Solomon. Because this is not the first time that he's done this. He's gone in the situations.
And Liz did it in season 1 too with Jonica.
Yeah. It's because Tom and Liz know what you feel in those situations. That's where you're able to pull someone back because you've been there. You know what to say in order to get them back from there. What Cooper tried, but that was not what you had to say.
Well, I've seen theories floating around that if Ressler were there, that he'd be able to pull her back. That would be fascinating for me.
You know? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, obviously I don't either because I just wrote an AU in which he couldn't. But, like, I do find the theory fascinating, and I would have loved to have seen... I would love to know and pick the John's brains apart on that. Like, I would love to pick the John's brains apart about a lot of the Blacklist.
Yes, I was going to say, boy.
God, that's not the one thing. I mean, but it's on the list. It's somewhere on the list, you know? But, no, that would be fascinating. Like, if that were flipped around, would Ressler have been able to talk her down? Because he has been in those situations. He has felt those.
He did. He did with the deer hunter.
It's true. There you go.
He did with the deer hunter. So yes, I think he can.
If the situation's right.
Yeah, but I think that Cooper wasn't able to say that. I think that she was in that same state when she was pointing the gun on Red and everybody in the diner, and Red was able to get her out of there. But I don't think that it depends on the situation. But I think, yeah, maybe, you know what? he did it once. There's no reason to suspect that he wouldn't be able to do it again.
It's the fight or flight that she gets into. She gets very laser focused on that.
It's a protective thing, I think, and with her. He was threatening everybody she loved.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Liz, is that she is capable of dark things, but it's always for good reasons. The things that have bothered her the most are the ones that happen, and it's usually around her, not actually things that she's done specifically, like Red shooting, or no, she shot him. The guy in the diner when they were on the run, she shot him, didn't she? But he was pulling a gun on Red. I mean, like, it was a valid shot that she made.
She didn't shoot to kill, though.
Yeah, but she blamed herself for that. She blamed herself for Ames. Yeah, she blamed herself for Ames, even though she didn't. Yes, they were in that situation because of her, but, I mean, you could follow that back to they were in that situation because of Tom, they were in that situation because of Red, they were, I mean, like, you can follow that back to Kingdom Come. But she tends to blame herself for what she considers innocent people getting hurt, whether she's the one that is actually responsible or not. I was going somewhere with that. The train just went off the rail.
Probably was going to be about the choices that she's facing.
Might have been.
I think that's where you.
Well, that will be interesting. That's where I was going. I'm sorry, guys. I haven't slept a lot this week, so my brain's a little frazzled. But yeah, that will be fascinating to see where she goes with that. With who's innocent, who's not, and what her qualifications for that are.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what would it take for Liz to kill Kate herself? Ooh. Or to be okay with Red killing Kate?
I can't see a scenario. I just
threatening
can't.
Agnes, threatening Red, threatening Tom, threatening anybody in the task force.
But would she physically? Ooh. Because she's already, and that's a statement that I can't remember if I've actually made it on the podcast, and I've made it so much recently that I can't remember if I made it on the actual recording. I said that I've been all on Kate, like all on Kate's side of the court here until she screwed with Wrestler, and then I was done. I was like, sorry, Kate, love you, but like that, she went to such an extreme, even with like Marvin and various other people that she was just delivering them. They were not particularly bad people when you put them in the realm of where they work, but they were Red's colleagues. They were doing bad things. Wrestler, like Liz said, he is the best of the FBI. He is the Boy Scout. He does things because they are right. He's a good guy, and yet he's the first one Kate went after. And the fact that she is willing to go out of her way to set up the task force.
She was going after several targets with Wrestler. Because it was not just taking down Wrestler. That also would take down Hitchens and therefore debilitate Red's position in the Cabal.
Yes, and she knows about that while Liz and none of the others do. I am waiting for that fallout to come because that's not going to be pretty when it shows up.
Yeah, that is certainly. I mean, Kate is concocting a very complex plan. It's not simple. This is not a plan cooked out in the months that she's been supposedly gone. I can't believe that. I look back and I went through all the back scenes and I've seen a very different Kate. This show has a way of when you look at things again after you gain new information, you see a whole different thing.
Yeah, and I know that.
I've gone full dark on her.
You have. I'm not quite willing to do that. I still believe it's more of a brain injury than anything, but I do think she needs to be dealt with. And I hope it doesn't come down to a death. I love Kate. I love her character. I've always been fond of Kate.
There is no way for her to go but dead.
Yeah,
she's gone through the irredeemable.
I just hope. I've always had trouble deciding. I've never found a line in the sand of redeemable versus not. It's a very emotional reaction to that. Now,
well, in my view, she's irredeemable because I've seen, going back, I've come to the conclusion that she always went to look to work for Red in order to make sure that Red stayed away from Liz. And once Red went back into her life, that revenge plan that she's been cooking, she's been preserving the certain bodies. This is not new. This has been...
Well, like I said last week, I feel like that some of it could have been a security measure she took, but I don't think she's been actively planning against him. But I do think it could have been a security measure, certainly.
Mm.
But the fact that she's gone after Wrestler makes me very nervous because she stopped. It's the innocent versus the guilty sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I love Marvin. Marvin Gerard is a fun, quirky character, and I adore him dearly. He's not innocent. He's still a criminal. And so, like, there is a difference in her tying him to a lamppost for the cops to come pick him up than setting Donald Wrestler, the Boy Scout of the FBI, up for murder of White House counsel.
It's almost like making fun of his desire for justice, which is, funnily enough, what she's doing or claims to be doing.
Yeah. It's something interesting I would just like to say about Rest, that so much of that was in his head. So I imagine his imagination was filling things in that the doctor wasn't. The Boy Scout thing, that's been said by multiple people. People call him the Boy Scout. I mean, it's been picked up by the fandom, but people in the show have called him the Boy Scout before. In his little mental runabout.
Reverie, yeah.
Yeah, she said, just another badge for your Boy Scout.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find that very interesting that he basically referred to himself as the Boy Scout in this illusion.
Unless that was all fed by a script carefully designed to make sense.
It could have been, but I find it interesting if it wasn't.
How did she... Let me ask you something. How on earth did she know about Wrestler's obsession with Hitchens? How on earth? Those things have happened in the confines of the task force.
But Red, early season 4.
But Red talks openly about not showing his hand. Red doesn't talk that much with anything. What would he talk about Wrestler and obsession with Hitchens? In fact, he's always said to Hitchens, I can't wait to hurt you. So it's not that he's only protecting Hitchens until she's no longer useful.
I don't know where she'd know that for sure. She may have eyes and ears in the task, or in the FBI in the task force. I don't know. That's a good question.
Then it ties up to something else that what she remembers and what she says aligns so closely to what Rostov says. Almost makes me wonder, was she working or feeding information to him? And if so, I wonder if Janet is still working for her.
What is it that you think the aligns?
Red was the American. Red took Liz. Red had an affair. Red is a bad man. Red is a criminal.
I've seen your posts on Tumblr. I've been so busy. I haven't gotten a chance to read all of them. But I do not believe the American and Red are two different people. I don't think there's a third.
It could be. It could not. I'm tending to think it is the same person, but there's a possibility that there isn't. But either way, what I'm thinking is, how does Kate know these things?
No, I agree. That's a very valid and very good question. And I'm assuming it will come out. I hope so. I hope it's not just glossed over.
If really Liz got her memories altered to forget that she have learned something about Red, and I suspect that what she had learned is that Red is her father, and that didn't quite work for someone.
Do you not think that that's too obvious?
It might be. But, at this point, they can say things, the most obvious things, and we're going to say,
That's
nah.
True. Well, I mean, and we're supposed to get some sort of big reveal at the end of season 4. And we're wrapping out into the end of the show, so obvious things that we've been wanting to know for ages are going to start coming out.
Mm.
And so, yeah, okay. That's a possibility. It's a possibility.
You want to go? You're done with Wrestler? Can I say that was a very fine performance by Diego? I was, he seemed so utterly, enraged and then thoroughly confused.
Blanket.
And it was,
I want to wrap him in a blanket and protect him from the world. That is all I want to do. That poor man.
We saw Wrestler in handcuffs.
Oh, like, that's not how
He lost his gun. He hasn't lost his badge, but they took his gun and they let him away in handcuffs.
No, he did shoot somebody outside of her house.
An agent probably defending.
Yeah. I just feel so horrible for him right now. Seriously.
I think he's gonna get. We're gonna get really good stories now. He's in a great spot.
Like, I'm not complaining. I'm just like, I don't often feel the need to like wrap these characters up and protect them. I mean, like, I know that's like a thing online. Like, I'm going to protect this person. They are my child. I will protect them. Like, that's a thing that comes about online that people say. These people are all such badasses. Like, even Tom. It took till redemption for me to go, I feel the need to protect him now. Like from the other characters on this show.
Let's abuse him some more. I love the character. Let's get him abused.
Have you seen my writing? Like, I love you. Let's beat you up. That's how I write. Like, my favorite characters by how often they bleed.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's what I am. Alone that. It's okay. But anyway, this is like I've got a friend that's new to the fandom. And so I hope you guys, Shelly XO, I think is her Tumblr name. I've known her for years, since the Marvel fandom, like 2 fandoms back. My fandoms last for years, so this is from years ago. I've known her. She finally popped into the Blacklist fandom, and she's a big Wrestler fan. And she's in season 2. She's like, you don't even understand. He's going through the drug thing, and I just want to protect him. I'm like, oh, sweetie, wait till season 4. And then, like, after this last episode, I'm like,
yeah.
So
let's talk about Red.
So, yes, I will never be done with Rest. To answer your question, we can move on to Red, but I will never be done with Rest.
Again, Red, you get me going there. So, Red, what an interesting view of Red. I mean, Red, you remember what was the promo picture of season 4?
The shattering?
Yeah, like, not even shattering. It was a mask, partial. And it was peeling, and you're starting to see.
It was a partial shatter. It was a breaking.
Yeah, like you were starting to peel parts of and see the real man. It was very interesting, and boy, are we seeing that.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Red is, he's going to a very, I have been seesawing so badly on Red this entire season. I really have. And, I mean, you guys have all heard it on the podcast as I'm like, yay, Red, do the thing! No, Red, stop doing the thing! I'm going to be so angry at you forevermore! I mean, like, I've been horrible with it. And I'm aware of this, I am cognizant of this. It's what happens. I have a lot of feelings with Reddington. A lot of them. But right now, he's going so dark.
But he's not really going dark. He's revisiting the dark deeds of his past. He's been carrying this in his soul.
He's making decisions in the now, and they are being influenced by the past. But the decision...
What do you mean, for example?
Yeah, and I'm going into that. The decision to go to Werner's... Werner, wasn't that his name? I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Werner? To go to Werner's house when he knew that the man knew he was responsible for his son's death, he knew what was coming, he knew he had someone, and he went in there knowing he was going to kill the man, that he had murdered, I don't want to say murdered his son, because
he caused his son to die.
Red did not murder him. That was not intentional. You could tell, and I do not question Red's...
Has caused his I think it would be, involuntary manslaughter?
Yeah, Red, you could tell.
No, manslaughter, because there was nothing involuntary about it.
I am fully on board with the fact that Red was heartbroken over that young man's death, and that it was never his intention. But he did walk into that home fully aware of what was about to happen. And even if I don't blame him for Hans's death, Werner's I do. That was a
there was only, in Red's world, when you get to a situation like that, you only have two alternatives. You're going to die or you're going to kill.
And that's, and I know I've spoken a lot about the way that Tom and Red live because of that world that they've both been in for so long, and to an extent I agree with that, but I had a very bad emotional reaction to that. It was so, like, the fact that...
Well, if you notice what he said, I would have to pay for that, but I can't. Because the only way he could pay for that if his child dies, and that's something it's not going to happen.
And that's true.
And that's what is going to happen. Because Kate is on the way to expose, to literally obliterate his life.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's what he's wondering if she's working towards. Because Kate did make the comment to Liz. She said, "I've already failed you. I'm working for Agnes now."
Mm-hmm.
So
which is creepy.
It's a possibility that she's willing to give up Liz to try to save Agnes in her warped, deluded sort of sense.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that before, but that really unnerves me. Oh, that's a possibility.
It's definitely. I think that's what is going to be. I think that the one who is going to end up killing Kate if she dies is Liz.
And it could be, I think it was Blacklist or 214 that made the comment that it's possible that Kate's already dying. That she's going to die of...
Yeah. Or Katerina is, or there's going to be a phone call. Red's going to say, "Wait a minute, I'm going to, get a phone call," and she's going to say, "I told you not to love her."
Ooh.
And then
that
Red
would
takes
be
out the gun.
amazing. Oh.
And then Red takes the gun and kills her.
Oh, gosh, I told you not to love her. That would be, yeah. Now I need that. Why would you do that to me? Why would you set my expectations that high? Like, I mean, they're already high because of the quality that these writers write at, but that's too high. That's not okay.
It's all right. You can write it. If I might get written, who knows? I think that there is. I'm not thinking that Red is going darker. I think that Red is facing the darkness, and that's what she's doing.
And that may be it. And I think that Red has been so swallowed by this world that he felt like he had to jump into to protect Liz. I think that the steps he took to make sure he had the power to protect Liz have actually eaten away at his soul.
Yeah, well,
he said it
now. He said it to the guy who attacked Liz. Every time I kill someone, a part of me dies. This is going back. The powerful criminal the world has been told I was, that he became that. That goes all the way back to the hideous fish monologue. That goes all the things about everything about me is a lie. And he's not saying I'm not Reddington. He's not saying I am a lie. Everything about me is not I am a lie or I say lies.
And I was going to ask you. Thank you. Thank you. You just brought that in lovely. I love that. The question that I had was, how do you think that empire got started? Do you think he started spreading rumors about himself?
No.
and then met up to those? You don't think that? So how do you think that empire got started? Because he seemed to be trying to match up to the story he told about himself.
Well, I think the crux of a Blacklist is all in the years between the fire and my particular theory is the fire and Red disappearance is all one event, but it's all come between 1990 and 1996. And I mean, he reappears in 1994, but in 1994, he doesn't even go to Kate until 1996, 97. So how did he became that? How did...
That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if maybe because if he had to basically try to set up a false pretense to have that sort of... He paid those men that took Hans to kidnap this child, or not child, young adult, kidnap this young man, and he paid them, and they were supposed to release him due to his influence, and due to being a man that should not be reckoned with. Not because he was a man that shouldn't be reckoned with, but because he was paying them to make it look that way and to paint that picture. And so I really got the impression that Red's the beginning of his empire was built on that. Very much what you just said from the pilot. It was a fantastic tie-in of everything about me is a lie. He started out with a bunch of lies and then made them true.
Mm-hmm.
And that
the best way to predict the future is to, that goes, that's was a favorite line of the X-Files. That was, if you want to we're in the business of predicting the future by making it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thought for me.
But what Red says is very intriguing in that he says, intent on building an empire, intent on becoming the powerful criminal the world has been told I already was. Was he saying the one that he was a powerful criminal, or had he been, or did it started because they accused him of things? He became a convenient patsy for things.
I don't know, because we have that interesting bit from earlier in season 4 from 4A. Or no, I'm so confused with so many hiatuses these days.
Which one?
4B, and now we're in 4C. I don't know, but the bit where Tom was what was his name? The assassin.
Wendigo.
No.
Carricker?
No. The assassin that Red just created.
Legat.
Thank you.
Edgar Legat.
Yeah.
Like a lot of what he has been...
Exactly. Basically, Red went and did things, but Legat was the patsy, as you just said,
he created a monster to suit anything that he needed, and it's the sense, the hat, the rabbit is a magician is what I said. I made a post about that. Like at first we were seeing the magic. We were the audience sitting, and Red was in full regalia with the smoke and the rabbit coming out and all these magic tricks. And it felt like he was powerful and he knew everything because we were seeing the illusion that he had worked so hard in creating. Now we're going back. Then we saw the dress rehearsal and it got a little less luster. Now we're seeing the man scrambling, the man walking in the woods in a city suit without access to anything, the man traveling in a peasant truck. So we're seeing beyond the mask to what started, but did he started by becoming a criminal to protect Liz, or was he going into a mission in an undercover mission when all this happened? And his mission was to be a criminal. And when all this happened, he just continued in the mission and became everything that he was supposed to be. Like somebody, like he created Legat, somebody created Reddington the criminal.
I don't know. I mean, as it stands right now, it looks like he created this empire to protect Liz. But that, I mean, like, why would that be your go-to? Why would that be your go-to? My daughter is in danger. I'm gonna become a master criminal. You know? Because honestly, while yes, he created a lot of power in that, he also put a huge target on himself and anybody he loves.
I mean, if he really wanted to protect Liz, he could have simply killed himself and leave Liz somewhere that it would be thoroughly unknown. It was a girl, except Liz had a mark.
Yep.
She already had a target on her wrist.
That's going to come back around, I think, shortly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing of origins of Red, because I think you're right. That goes right back to Legat. He does this all the time. He creates a powerful assassin.
Well, like Rom. I love magic.
Prosperous. This is Prosperous and his books, and I think there is a reason why the original Reddington in the first only one they'd been released before they filmed the pilot was originally in the Army, and then he became the Navy. And I always felt there is a little bit of Prosperous here with the books and the storm.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
The Tempest. The Tempest.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, the Tempest and the books and the magic and Ariel and Ferdinand, the son of the prince.
It's gonna be fascinating. It is fascinating, and there's a lot that's it's an overload of information. I've gone through a rewatch or two of last night's episode, and I still feel like I need to watch it several more times to feel like I've got a handle on it. On all that information, because it's just we're getting into so much, and I feel like we're getting a lot of mythology without realizing we're getting mythology yet.
Yeah, it has happened before that we have to go back. I that's funny because you mentioned that, and I noticed something going on when I do my symbols, and I haven't been really having the time to watch for the symbols that have happened throughout this. But it's interesting because sometimes I'm thinking, you know what? I'm missing a Russian symbol. I know that there is Russian or Soviet Union symbols in every episode by 3. And sure, it's not that they're missing. It's that I don't know that certain people are Russians or Soviet, or they started in the Soviet Union. They have another name. So it's usually what happens.
Everyone has 15 names on this show. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Or, Kate. No, Kate speaks Russian. Oh, there you go. I was missing that one.
I'm a little worried, and I'll throw this out there on the air here, that I'm a little worried Red's not getting out of this alive. I've mentioned this before, that and it ties back to, I get this tie back to Fringe with Walter out of Fringe, and the way that everything he was doing, whether it looked like it or not, was to protect his son, and desperately trying to protect his son, who wasn't it's if you haven't watched Fringe, go watch it. It's amazing. It's so many twists and turns. I haven't watched it. You should. You would like Fringe. So many twists and turns, and fantastic acting and writing. But yeah, I know some of the writing team is out of that lot. From what I've heard. Somebody is. Blanking on her name. She did the comics.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
She's from the Fringe. Excuse me, the Fringe team. But yeah, I think that there's a really good possibility that either Red will die by the end of it, or it will be very vague. It'll be kind of a white collar, in which, the TV show White Collar, in which he faked his death and then went off into the sunset and did his thing, and everybody was kind of like, I think he's alive, but we're not sure. Everybody they left behind. I'm giving all the spoilers to all the other shows, by the way. Sorry, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody that wants to watch Fringe or White Collar, sorry, I just spoiled both of them.
So you think, let me ask you, do you think that we're going to see Katerina or hear Katerina or in this season?
I think there's a really good possibility. I would love for season 4 to end with Katerina. Like, honestly, I'm hooked on your thing. A call comes in, you weren't supposed to love her. That's what I need now. I need this. I know it's already written and filmed. I don't care. Change it. If it's not the way it is, change it. That's
because
fantastic.
it would be.
That.
I mean, if you really think about it, you can put a lot of psychological things on that particular request, but that was a pretty bizarre one. I mean,
yes.
How can you not love somebody by request? Is that why they went for a nanny that seemed to have really attachment problems? Because she wasn't particularly normal. No. Why was it important that you don't love the child? I mean, most people would have preferred that the nanny loves the child. So why not? Unless it was because when you love somebody, you make decisions to protect that child against even yourself or common sense. And when you don't have all the facts, you make mistakes.
Yeah, and that could be. It'll be interesting. I would love for that to be how Katerina comes back in. I do think she's coming. I think she's on the horizon.
I think we're about wrapped up. Yeah. Because we've been talking for a long time.
Oh God. Well, considering we started this podcast like 5 times. So I'll edit most of it out, but we started it like 3 times.
Yeah, it was
got
difficult.
So giggly.
Yeah, we've read something funny.
It's
very funny.
It happens. The internet, it makes us laugh. We giggle.
Yeah.
Anyways, so guys, we love you. We hope you'll listen to us on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud. And please, 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 if you have comments, questions, concerns, statements, what have you, you can leave them on Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr, we'd love to hear from you guys. It brightens our day and makes us happy, and we smile.
We're both smiling right now. You can't see us, but we are. It's a lot of teeth showing.
But yes, we'd love to hear from you guys, and we'd love thoughts. We love for you guys to share theories. We've had people share theories with us before, and that's so much fun because, I mean, like, I may not be a theorist per se, but I love hearing random theories, even if they're out there and they're crazy.
The best thing about I think that you contribute a lot to theories because sometimes it may have a vague idea, but when you analyze a character, then the idea either makes sense or it becomes thoroughly ridiculous and, it has to be discarded because it just doesn't fit with the person.
I'm gonna bite my tongue on thoroughly ridiculous theories that I feel are thoroughly ridiculous.
Hey, we've all had them. I had quite a few, and yet there are the zombie theories that don't die. I had Katerina. Carla was Katerina as soon as Carla appeared, and then I said, "Oh, can't be." Now it's fully back on. I've had so many crazy theories going on that has come back full circle. Now I'm pretty sure that Liz had always known, and now it makes sense if her memory were erased again, why she's been acting so crazy. And I tell you guys, if that happens, you gotta admit that the plotting level of a Blacklist is amazing. And with that, hope to see you next week.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.